Hey everybody, how's it going? Something I mentioned in a recent video I did is that when it comes to donations, because this is a very commonly asked question, one of the things that means the world to me, far more than money, is time. If you are willing to speak to your politician, write a letter to your politician, have an in-person conversation with your representative, or even better, show up at a hearing or work session in solidarity with other people who are advocating for right to repair, that means far more to me than any sum of money. It's something that I want to get people encouraged to do. I hope that by showcasing my testimony and also the testimony of other people, that it will encourage people who are maybe a little socially awkward or socially anxious to show up and speak their piece for 3 to 8 minutes in front of a legislative body and help us get this bill passed. This is why I was incredibly disappointed when I went over the YouTube comments on this video I saw from IFixit. So one of the people that works at IFixit showed up at this hearing. There was also someone who showed up in Nebraska as well. His name was Matt. Every now and then IFixit, since they're big advocates for right to repair, will send people to these hearings, and this time they sent Olivia. Olivia did her testifying for about 2 minutes. She spoke her piece, and she was done. She struck me as someone from meeting her that she may be someone who is a little bit shy with regards to speaking on public access television or before a legislative body. But she did it. And when she got back home, she did a video detailing how this was something where she was kind of maybe worried they wouldn't take her seriously, but it actually was easier than she thought, and she encouraged more people to do it. I thought this would be a great thing, because one of the things I keep saying in every single one of these videos is that I wish more people would show up. Because every time we show up to these hearings, there's 1 or 2 repair people, sometimes less than 1 repair person, and 12, 13, 15 anti-repair lobbyists. And that's not a good look. So when I look at this video, I thought, oh great, maybe more people that are my subscribers will watch and want to show up at hearings. Half of the comments on this video appear to be from people who are aggravated that Olivia referred to me. Someone who has spent 8 years on YouTube. Someone who has created and uploaded and produced 1,000 YouTube videos. A YouTuber. The other half of the comments on the video are from people who clearly want to bang her. Do you wonder why it is that most of my staff don't show up in my videos? Do you understand why it is people that work for me, even if I try to encourage them to show up on camera, don't feel comfortable showing up on camera? Why it's only myself and Paul behind me and occasionally Hi shooting a Nerf dart? This is why. She showed up at a public hearing. This was on public access television. She was being recorded, and not just for public access TV, but on YouTube. And she was speaking before a bunch of senators, many of whom were twice her age. And she decided to speak and say, I was nervous to do this, but it actually wasn't that bad. I think you should all do it too. And you're all shitting on her for it. You're reinforcing why it is that people don't show up at these hearings to speak up on behalf of our consumer rights. When I speak to people who want to show up at these hearings, when I separate them into the group of people who have the time to, who are able to, who are not going to get fired from work or lose money because they show up, 99% of them that don't show up cite the same reason for not showing up to the hearing. They're afraid. They're socially anxious. They're worried that they're going to say something a little off-kilter that's going to get taken crazy out of context and everybody's going to hate them. They're all going to come descending on them like vultures, picking apart every single word. Even if they had their heart in the right place, they're going to get crapped on because they said something they weren't supposed to say due to the fact that they're not used to being in front of a camera. And someone had that fear, and they showed up and decided to speak on a podium to over 600,000 subscribers on that channel and say, don't be afraid. You should show up even if you had that fear. It'll go just fine. And what do? You leave comments that confirm my own subscribers' worst fears, that if they show up at that hearing, that all of their words are going to be picked apart, that if they haven't been on camera a lot, they better watch out because there's something they may say that'll offend somebody. And then groups of hundreds of people are going to descend on them and pick apart at every single word and attack them for saying something that the person that they were targeting wasn't even offended by. You're part of the reason that when we show up at these hearings, when I showed up at the main hearing, I was the only repair person in the room, with over 10 anti-repair lobbyists talking about boats exploding, batteries exploding, tractors exploding, loss of life, this, that, and the other. Why is it that only one person showed up? Why is it that even though there are people who were free during that time, why is it when I have 1.1 million people following me, many of whom believe in what I'm advocating for, that at best we get maybe 1 or 2 people to show up at a hearing? Because of this. I speak to my subscribers. I make my email public. Many people can email me as a result of this. And even if I don't respond to all of them, I read them. I read them. And I read the reasons that people are concerned about showing up at a hearing, which is why I do my best to show you that even somebody as socially awkward and strange as myself can do it, in the hopes that maybe you'll realize that if this jackass that talks at 3 times the speed of the other people in that state, who didn't even take the time to iron his shirt after he got off the plane, can speak to the senator, that maybe so can I. I met Olivia for 15 seconds after I finished my burrito in the cafeteria before we all head over to the main room where we were going to give our testimony. I barely know this person. Hell, I live in Brooklyn. I've been living upstairs from the same person for the past 10 years. Don't even know his name. It's not because I care so much about this one individual's feelings being hurt that I'm saying this. I'm a New Yorker. We don't care about anybody's feelings here. But what I do care about is the passing of legislation that will ensure that our consumer rights and right to our personal property are preserved. I care about the tens of thousands of people that viewed that video and thought to themselves, man, I'm socially kind of awkward and weird and anxious, and no, I don't want people to be, what if I say the wrong thing and get in trouble? But no, she did it, so maybe it'll be okay. They're then going to scroll down to that comment section and have it reaffirmed to them that every single one of their fears as to why they shouldn't show up in public, why they shouldn't show up and speak to a senator, why they shouldn't show up on camera, had merit. And then they stay home. And then when I go to lobby, there's 15 lobbyists against the bill talking about the boat exploding and the magnetometer exploding and the tractor being overclocked. And a senator that goes, why is it that the only person here in favor of the bill talks fast and is not from our home state?
Obviously, at our public hearing, we had a room full of people very concerned about this bill, and nearly nobody from our state was here in favor of it.
That's what I care about. What it's about is understanding the team that we're supposed to be on. A lobbyist showed up and said that if independent repair people try and fix phones, TikTok may get installed on it. People show up that say that magnetometers will explode. Someone showed up that said that the game plays the console. And 2 months ago, a dude that, in my opinion, burned his house down to avoid paying out a judgment for screwing someone over and scamming them with regards to construction, that screwed me out of $30,000, did that in a public forum. And the person you choose to go after is the person who's on our side testifying in favor of the bill because they called me a YouTuber. That's how you choose to spend your angst. Not that I'm saying that you should be going after people, not that I'm saying we should be witch hunting people, but if we're gonna put the time in to write an angry comment, you couldn't think of anybody else that might have deserved it, that might have put an effort to earn it. I'm heading to Maine again today. I went to sleep around 4:30 this morning. I woke up at 6:30 so that I could get on a bus for 10.5 hours and record a work session, so that I may have the slightest chance as a politician is walking on their way to the parking lot to be able to have a 2-minute conversation with them to undo some of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that lobbyists put into their head. I do not need people having more reasons to feel afraid, socially anxious, or awkward showing up at these hearings. There is enough opposition. CTA has given over $1.7 million to numerous politicians over the last 10 years. CompTIA makes over $40 million per year and was lobbying full-time against this bill, and continuing to do so even after they told me that they were not going to do it. I had to dig through pages and pages of testimony only to figure out that they lied to me. I have my plate full. If you're not going to show up at a hearing, if you're not going to meet with your representative, if you're not going to do even the modicum of work to help people who want to ensure that you retain your personal property rights, can you do me the favor of not discouraging the people who will want to help do that just because they called me a name you don't like? Could you perhaps ask me if it's something that I found offensive before being offended on my behalf? And can you stop focusing just for 5 seconds on how much you want to fuck the person on the screen instead of focusing on advancing legislation that will protect your consumer rights and your right to fix your own personal property? That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something.